Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning, venturing out in the cold. It's so great to be back together in person after being virtual last week, but I want to say thank you to all of those of you who chose to join us last week. It's great to be able to do that as an option, so thank you for being there for that. I want to invite you into a couple of things that are happening. You know, I just love that song. I love that song. Like, we are the ones we've been waiting for, right? We are the love that we seek. We are the seeds that we've been sowing. We are the harvest we reap. So we are reaping that harvest. We're reaping the harvest of love right here at CSL Parker. And so thank you for the love that you give, the love that you share with all of us, and bringing your love here this morning. I want to remind you that after service today, we're having the men's and the women's ministry groups meeting. So if you'd like to stay and be a part of that, it's a circle of men, a circle of women, get together and talk about things and share. And so it's a beautiful opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better, to bond, and to just be you in a circle of people that love you and care about you. And so we invite you to be a part of that. I also want to remind you that we have 2 weeks from today, on the 25th, is our annual meeting of the membership. Again, I've been promised that this is not a 2-hour meeting like some meetings I've been a part of. That this hopefully will be a fairly short meeting, just to share with you what's happened last year, some of the exciting things that happened for us last year, the financial picture, where we are there, and then some visions for our future. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please come and stay after service to be a part of that. We'd love to have you participate there. Also, I want to remind you that Joe Albers and I have planned to facilitate a class on consciousness and the creative process, Thomas Troward's book. And I want to also say that we've had one person sign up, no judgment about that. I know that it can be challenging for you, but I would ask that if you want to be a part of the class, please sign up because we want to make a call on that. We want to be sure that that class makes. However, I also want to ask you, because I had this come to mind as well, and I haven't talked to Joe about it yet, but if you might be interested in something different other than Troward, this book has always been a great interest to me, and because it is Lent in the Christian tradition, I thought this might be something different and something that you might be interested in. It's Adyashanti. Are you familiar with Adyashanti and his teaching? He's a Buddhist, Zen Buddhist teacher, and this is a book that he actually, I think it was basically transcribed from some talks that he gave. It's called Resurrecting Jesus. Embodying the spirit of a revolutionary mystic. And so he looks at the life of Jesus through myth and metaphor. Hello. Do I have both mics on now? I don't know. Maybe the spirit of Jesus is moving in this space. So I want to just share with you this is what he says in the book, and I thought it might pique your interest. He said, the spirit that Jesus embodies is not a safe spirit. There's no guarantee of how it will play out in your life. There's only one guarantee that Jesus gave. If you can receive and awaken and embody what he is speaking about, then your life will never be the same again. Then you will realize that you're already living in the kingdom of heaven. So it's a beautiful way of looking at the life of Jesus and exploring how it's a metaphor for our own life. So please let me know after service if this is more of interest to you, and if you'd like to study this particular book. It's a great, I've loved it. I've done book studies on it. I've done a series of talks on it before, and it's a great book. I want to be sure I'm not missing anything, so annual meeting. There are board positions available. Oh, yes. Board positions available. So if you're interested in being on our board, please talk to Dr. Verne, and he'll direct you to the right person if you have any questions about that. Also, on March 17th, I want to invite you to be a part of something that I think is going to be very powerful and impactful for this community. It's a gathering of all of you who are willing and interested to help create formulate, envision a vision and mission statement for CSL Parker, like who we are, who we believe we are, why we're here, and being able to express that in a way that communicates to the larger community who we are, and also helps us to then gauge what we do, the activities that we engage in, and things like that based on, is this fulfilling our mission? Is this part of our vision? So I invite you to be a part of that. Reverend Ariana Platten, who was the minister, Unity minister in Colorado Springs for quite a while, she will be facilitating that for us. So now I want to invite Ann to make an announcement.
Thank you. Dinner groups are forming, you guys. Beginning in March, when the days get longer, we will be putting together dinner groups, probably break bread together once a month, and there'll be about 6 people in each group. We have some specialty groups already formed, vegan, gluten-free. So whatever your dietary preference may or may not be, when you sign up, if there is something that matters to you in terms of food, let me know on that sign-up sheet, and the groups will be formed accordingly. So it's at the education table. Why is it there? Because you're gonna learn more about people at CSL Parker by dining with them. So through the end of February, but we'll start munching together beginning in early March. Thank you.
Thank you. So my mic is on now? It is? I'm not hearing it. Are you? How odd. Okay, well, we'll keep using this mic. Certainly last but not least, and this is really something that I find very exciting. I'm celebrating because it is about, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are that love that we seek, and we're the seeds that we've been sowing. So I want you to know, not only do we have a beautiful team of practitioners who have been here for quite some time, I want you to know that we now have 3 new practitioners who have affiliated with CSL Parker in recent months. And that is very exciting for me, and I know for you, and that is a result of the consciousness, and your consciousness, and the group consciousness. And so that's Steve and Cheryl Haroka have transferred their practitioner license to us. And also Leslie McKinnon back here is transferring her practitioner license to CSO Parker. And she's already begun her ministry here in many ways, but you might have noticed, if those of you who are here early, she brought her this labyrinth that she has created, and she's sharing that with us. And it's available from 9:15 to 9:45 on Sunday morning, so if you want to get here early, walk the labyrinth. You don't have to be here at 9:15. Just come anytime during that time, and if you want to walk the labyrinth, then there'll be somebody there to help you with that and to give you some instruction around that. And so also our practitioners are here to pray with you after service, so please ask them for prayer. And so now I want to invite one of our beautiful practitioners up to share a reading with us this morning. Luann.
I just shocked him. Good morning. This reading comes from the Science of Mind textbook by guess who? Ernest Holmes. I am source, and there is none else. There is one limitless life, which returns to the thinker exactly what we think into it. One, one, one. One in all, over all, and through all. Talk, live, act, believe, and know that you are a center. You are a center. in this one. All the power there is, all the presence there is, all the love there is, and all the peace there is, all the good there is. And the only God, the only source there is omnipresent. Consequently, the infinite is in and through each of us and is in and through everything. Act as though I am. I am. And you will be. Thank you.
So I invite you to close your eyes. Take a breath. Allow that breath to bring your full awareness and attention into this now moment. Allowing that breath to relax your body. Allow the breath to be your focus as you still your mind as much as possible in this moment. And as you breathe in, breathe deeply into your heart space, beyond the noise of the outer, beyond the chatter of the mind, deep into that secret chamber. And in that space, close the door and allow yourself in this moment to commune with that spirit, the I am presence, not of something other than you, but that which you truly are, as the love and the light, the presence of the divine. I am that I am, hearing that presence speak to you, reminding you of who you truly are, reminding you that in the midst of whatever might be experiencing on the outer, I am, that I am is changeless. I am that I am is unaffected by the experiences of the body, of the mind, of the world, that it is eternal. I am eternal. I am you. I am you. Are. I am. And as you allow your mind to receive that truth, as you allow your heart to be filled with the knowing of that truth, allowing every fiber of your being to awaken to the truth of that which you are, feel it radiating in every cell of your body. Feel every thought being inspired by that truth. Feel the love as it fills your heart to overflowing. And as it feel that love, you feel it overflowing, touching all of those who are in this space, connecting us one with each other, one with the divine, spilling out from this place into the city and the state and the country, touching all the hearts and minds of all humanity, spilling over into all of the globe. That we are the very essence of love, I am, bringing that awareness to all of consciousness and allowing it to be in this moment as we go into just a short time in silence. Allow yourself to be drawn to whatever situation or area is calling to you to share that love. And so together we see all humanity ignited in love, ignited in the remembrance of I am, that I am, and all creation resonates and reverberates with the energy, the frequency of love. And we know this is to be the truth It is the truth of that which we are and all that is. As we breathe it back into our hearts, grounding it right here and right now, let us join together and proclaim, and so it is. Right. But that's our theme for February, is divine discomfort. Sometimes it doesn't seem quite divine, does it? Because I think, well, and I don't just think, I know, because I live it sometimes. I live that idea that I don't really want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to experience discomfort. And I think that we learn not to feel discomfort. We learn to pull away from it, to resist it, pull away from it, or push against it. These uncomfortable emotions that come up for us. We're sort of trained into that idea that we're not supposed to feel that. We don't know how really to feel those emotions. But what we're learning, what we're teaching, what this month is really about is being more comfortable with leaning into those uncomfortable feelings. Not because we want to be masochist, but because it helps us to grow. It helps us to learn and grow and to move through those feelings and have the ability to be with whatever comes up for us. Because it is about spiritual growth. And not only about spiritual growth, but about human growth, our growth as human beings. And we have examples of that coming face to face, leaning into that discomfort. We have examples from that from different religious traditions. We have the example of Jesus, who after his baptism goes into the wilderness, goes into the desert, and he faces the adversary, or Satan, or whatever you might want to call it. He faces those temptations, the difficult feelings that arise, and the things that show up in our lives when we are not conscious, maybe. We don't face those. There's that also the Buddhist tradition of having tea with Mara. The idea that Mara is this demon that tempted Siddhartha when he was under the Bodhi tree to pull him away from his enlightenment, his spiritual enlightenment. And so in the Buddhist tradition, there's a tradition of having tea with Mara, inviting Mara to tea, and sitting across the table from whatever it is, those difficult feelings or thoughts or the things that we may not want to come into contact with to face to face. But when I thought about that, I thought, well, why in those traditions does that become demonized? It's like something we have to fight against, or not fight against, but it's something that's against us in those two examples. But when we can look at these things showing up for us, not as something that is against us, but really something that's showing up for us to help us to grow, to help us to move, to help us to be present, to help us to build resilience when things show up in our lives. So rather than thinking of them as something that is out to get us or trick us or in some way keep us from experiencing our enlightenment, what if we looked at them as something to help us achieve enlightenment and welcome them like Rumi, the welcoming house? Welcome everything. As it shows up, treat it as a welcome guest. And be with it. And because it's not about testing our spiritual growth, it's not about testing ourselves to see how well we can do it, but it's about growing through it in our spirituality and in our humanity, so that we can, not only for ourselves, but to be present for others when they are experiencing difficult situations in their lives. But I also understand why we don't want to. We build these. You heard, I know you have, the phrase, life begins at the end of our comfort zone. I understand that was Neil Donald Walsh that sort of coined that phrase. Well, I don't really believe that that's necessarily true. I mean, I've lived in a comfort zone for a long time, but I've had a life. I haven't not had life, right? It's not that and it's not that our life does begin at the end of our comfort zone. But I think what he's saying really is that our life can be more full. And we can be more present for our life. And we can be more present for life as it arises within us when we are willing to question that zone. And I don't even like the word comfort zone because it's really not very comfortable, is it? Quite often it's not comfortable. Or especially when we begin to awaken a little bit, we begin to recognize, oh, yeah, this is really not all that comfortable. It's more like a safety zone that we create around ourselves so that we protect ourselves from anything that might be stimulating that. And I think that's natural, really. I think that, like Dr. Verne talked about a couple of weeks ago, this domestication that we start, that starts, not we don't start, but starts at the beginning when we're born. We're domesticated. We learn how to survive in the world. Some of it's not bad. I mean, we are taught not to put our hand in a fire or put it on a hot stove. We're taught not to walk out into traffic. Some of that is good. But we're also taught how we're supposed to behave, aren't we? And little boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. That was something that I think is part of our culture, something I learned for sure. How about little girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice? So girls are supposed to be nice and compliant. I know all of you bought into that, right? that idea. But that's sort of part of our culture. I mean, we may not have bought into it, but it lives in the consciousness of humanity, how we're supposed to be. And I think, I would share from my own experience that, I learned how to protect myself. I learned to create a safety zone. Growing up in the 1960s and early 70s as a little gay boy in the South, I learned how to protect myself. I learned how to behave. I learned how to not to call attention to myself. I learned how to try to be, well, I wasn't very good at it, but I tried to play baseball. I tried to like watching football. I even actually went hunting once, which I hated. I cried the whole time. Trying to be something that I'm not, and then, growing up as that, and then beginning again, it's like, and then again, I'm not discounting my experience. That was my experience, and it was painful, but my experience, it pales in comparison to some people's experience. I didn't experience physical abuse. I didn't experience being locked in a closet. I didn't experience some of the things that some people experience as children. And so we learn to create these safety zones so that we're safe from physical harm, we're safe from emotional harm, as much as we possibly can be. And I was reminded, again, how my experience, and it was my experience, but how it really does pale in comparison to many other people's experience. I like listening to audiobooks, especially when I'm in my car. I don't listen to a lot of music. In fact, I was watching the Grammys the other night, and I was like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? I don't know these people, right? So it's kind of an interesting experience. But I don't listen to a lot of music. I listen to audiobooks. And so the other day I was listening to Howard Thurman and Howard Thurman's book, Jesus and the Disinherited. And this book was first published in 1949. If you know Howard Thurman, he was a Baptist preacher, African-American, part of the civil rights movement. He was very influential in the civil rights movement. He met Gandhi, and he really subscribed to the nonviolence. He brought that back, and he and Martin Luther King Jr. were very close. And so he reminded me, not that I needed reminding, not that you need reminding, but of the horrific experience of people of African descent in this country. And in honor of our Black History Month, I think it's important to experience that. And again, just allow yourself to have the feelings that come up, the uncomfortable feelings, when we stop and we consider the treatment of these people. You know, these people were captured from their homeland, put in chains, put on ships, traveled for months to get to a foreign land where they were still put in chains, sold, treated as less than human, made to work in the fields, beaten, raped, separated from their children, killed. And then when they were supposedly freed, then we had other laws that were created to keep them separate and keep them oppressed. And so imagine if you can, the safety zone that they had to create, and often still do, to learn how to behave in a society that thought of them as less than human, to learn how not to make eye contact with white people. I grew up in the South, and I remember segregation. I remember having a water fountain for white people and a water fountain for colored people, as they were referred to then. I remember the courthouse in the city, the town where I was born, and colored people had to use the back entrance and sit upstairs if they came to the courthouse. So I remember those things. And take a moment and feel into the discomfort when we think about recalling that. And even today, still, I know we've made great progress. I am not discounting that. But we feel into that, and yeah, that's uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me to be reminded of that. I want to share with you something that Howard Thurman says in this book, Jesus and the Disinherited. He says, "Fear becomes the safety device with which the oppressed surround themselves in order to give some measure of protection from complete nervous collapse." How do they achieve this? In the first place, they make their bodies commit to memory, ways of behaving that will tend to reduce their exposure to violence. Several years ago when I was in India, I experienced precisely what is meant here. It was our first evening in the country that a friend came to visit and to give advice about certain precautions to be observed. Just before he left, a final caution was given about snakes. He advised that we should not walk around at night without a light, not go into an unlighted room at night. We should keep a flashlight under the pillow so that if it were necessary to get up during the night, a circle of light could be thrown on the floor before stepping out of bed, lest we disturb the nocturnal ramblings of some unexpected cobra. I sat alone for some time after he left. During that period of concentration, I was literally teaching my body how to behave, so that after the particular evening, it would be extremely difficult for me to violate his expressed advice. My conditioning was so complete that subsequently my behavior was automatic. So it's just an example of how we are conditioned and how they were conditioned, and in many ways still are. So after listening to that, I was a little depressed. I was feeling that discomfort, right? From remembering that and from being reminded of that so vividly. And so, for inspiration, I went and watched the story of Rosa Parks. And you all know the story of Rosa Parks, a black woman in Montgomery, Alabama, who one day, after a long day of work, got on a bus, a city bus, sat down in the front of the bus, and refused to move to the back of the bus, where black people were supposed to sit. So she refused to give up her seat. She refused to step to the back of the bus after many requests, and she was eventually arrested and put in jail. And I used to think that that was just a spontaneous act of defiance. But what I understand from listening more to her story is that it wasn't really a spontaneous act of defiance. It was that she was tired. Tired of the abuse, tired of the oppression, tired of being relegated to the back of the bus, tired of the pain. And what I found out more about her story is that from when she went to school, she went to a school where there were white teachers, and those teachers helped her to know who she is, helped her and reminded her that she's a valuable human being, helped her to know that she should not be subscribing to ideas of less than, helped her to reclaim her true nature. She was a member of the NAACP in Montgomery that worked for the equality of black people. So it wasn't just an act that happened in the moment. I believe, as I understand it today, that it was an outer expression of her belief in who she truly is or was. And what we know about that now is that it sparked the boycott of the bus system in Montgomery, that it lasted for over a year, and it helped. It helped a step toward equality. But she exampled for us what it might be like to be willing to step out of that zone of safety and risk everything. Everything. She risked her life. She risked losing her job. She risked probably her position in her community. Because I'm guessing that there were other people in her community who did not want her to do that for their own safety. So what is it like for us to think about stepping outside of our zone of safety? Does life begin at the end of our comfort or safety zone? No. Life truly begins, I believe, what we think of as that life begins when we are willing and able to truly accept and believe and know who we truly are as children of God, as the light of God, as the love of God expressing. That's where I believe it begins. And then we can have the strength, the courage, the willingness then to maybe move beyond, not all in one giant leap, but gradually, step by step by step. Because what I know is that when we live within this safety, protective shell, our zone of safety, we may be able to, in some way, avoid pain. I would say good luck with that, but in some way we might be able to. But what do we also suppress? Right? Our life, our love, our joy, our creativity. That gets held within that safety zone as well. And I want to truly acknowledge again that sometimes that is necessary. And sometimes we need help, a lot of help. I get it. That we need help recognizing, knowing, remembering who we truly are so that we can gradually, thought by thought, step by step, move beyond that zone of safety. But I think that is where we are called to, what we are called to. I want to share with you, too, from Living the Science of Mind, what Ernest Holmes has to say. And this is in one of the last sections in the book on page 429 called Self-Awareness is Not Enough. He says, self-awareness alone is not enough for this reason. There is an incessant urge back of everything to create, to express life, to come to the gratification of happiness, peace, joy, and self-expression. Self-awareness is not enough. It is merely clearing the track for right action. Something has to be done with self-awareness. We are not seeking a way to escape from life or living, for this would be the exact opposite of the whole purpose of existence, which is to express the self. So when we suppress, we're suppressing the self, the true self. We're hiding our light, and we're depriving the world of that love that simply wants to express, simply wants to be lived. So my invitation for us this week is to do your own self-assessment, right? Where am I living within this zone of safety? How am I trying to protect myself? Is there really justification for protecting myself? And there may well be. And then ask yourself, am I willing to do one thing outside of my zone of safety or my comfort zone? Am I willing to take one step, one action? From that place of self-awareness, the I am self, and to make a difference. I'm not saying that we are going to, with one step, change everything in the world, but think of Rosa Parks. She took one step, and look at the difference it made in the world. So don't think you don't matter. Don't think that your actions don't matter. Don't think that your thoughts don't matter. It all matters. What are we doing? Where are we living? And are we willing to come face to face with our discomfort so that we can move through it, move out of our comfort zone, and truly give and serve the world? So let's take a moment and breathe into that. Once again, breathing into our hearts, breathing into that place of knowing who we are, what we are, I am that I am, the love that is, the love of God expressing in this moment. Strengthening ourselves in the awareness of that love, grounding ourselves in that love, loving ourselves right where we are. Loving ourselves right here and right now. Hearing the voice of the divine. Saying unto you this moment, you are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. You are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. You are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. As you embrace that, as you take that into your heart and into your mind and into your spirit and into your body, again, embodying that truth. And in that space of deep knowing, allowing anything that might be there that might be causing or stimulating any discomfort, to invite it into that space. To have tea with Mara. And know that it is not something that is against you. It is showing up to assist you, to help you, to reveal to you your true nature. Sweetheart, I'm here to help you, to remind you. And to strengthen your ability, your resilience, to be with, to lean into whatever might arise in your mind, in your body, in the world around you. And it is from this place of deep knowing that you are willing to question your own zone of safety and be willing, when and if you are willing, to take one step, one small step beyond that zone of safety, knowing that you make a difference. Your consciousness, your words, your thoughts, your actions make a difference in the world. As we breathe into that, we claim it, we allow it, we choose in this moment to be it. And as we choose to be it, it does become our lived experience. And we are grateful. And together let us proclaim, and so it is. So thank you for that. I also want to say thank you for all the ways that you contribute to this ministry. Your financial contributions are wonderful, and we appreciate that. If you give electronically, or however you give, and we appreciate that. So if you're going to give today, please take that, hold it in your hands. As we share it as our love expression, and hold it in your heart as if you have shared in other ways. Because we know that the gifts and offerings that we give today are expressions, outer expressions of the energy of life and love moving in us and through us and as us. So we let go, we let God move in us, through us, and as we give and as we receive, and we know that we are blessed and we are grateful. And together we say, and so it is. And if you're willing and able to do that as we come together in this blessing of our offering, and as we breathe into that space within us where we know the truth that we are always in the flow of that divine life, we give thanks for these gifts and offerings this morning, knowing that they flow from our hearts, and knowing that we give from love, and that we share in love, and we receive in love, and we are grateful, and we are blessed. And together let us say, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for being here with us today. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, John. Thank you all for being here and blessing us with your music this morning. We are so blessed. So as you go out and experiencing your week, just enjoy that creativity, that life, that love that wants to express through you, and step outside a little bit. See what you can risk this week in giving more and in sharing more of who you truly are. So blessings to you.